I think we're gonna start. We've got actually over 60 people registered, so I guess people are gonna come in, but in true connection style, I'm going to just start and make a few introductions, but it's really great to see you logged on today, old friends and new friends. So for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome to Connections, the international private community for trusted decision makers in high-end travel. As many of you will know, we help industry leaders from all corners of the globe meet, do business through memorable experiences that lead to long-lasting business relationship. Across our online community and calendar events, we offer a year-round program that promotes brands, networking, learning, and recognition. So everything that we do is highly targeted, time efficient, meaningful, stimulating, and most importantly, fun. Because if you do business and you don't have fun, then what is the point? We are the next generation of doing business. And as some of you know, we built our new online community in the midst of this pandemic. And that was done in an effort to play our part in supporting the travel industry on the road to recovery and resurgence. Across our network, we wanted to bring together trusted decision makers to share, to learn, to collaborate with each other. And as part of our online program, we've also been running a series of ConnecTALKS. And in fact, today, this one is our 32nd session. And each session has been touching on a different topic pertinent to our community. And we are constantly in touch with each and every one of our community, listening and trying to be of service to each and every one of you. So I'm delighted today to be hosting ConnecTALKS Europe, which is a spotlight on luxury travel, with Claudia Miguel of the Portuguese Tourism Authority, Flavio Zappacosta of the Italian Tourist Board, Siobhan Byrne-Learat of Adams and Butler in Ireland, and Matej Knific of Luxury Slovenia DMC. Thank you so much to all of our distinguished panelists for spending the time with us today. Now, before we begin, I wanted to briefly share a little bit about them. Flavio Zappacosta is the head of the Italian National Tourism Board, ENIT, for the United Kingdom and Ireland since 2017. Before, since 2007, he was manager of the Events and Exhibition Department in ENIT. Absolutely passionate about his job, promoting Italy tirelessly and all of its beauties. He has been living in London for 17 years, so I guess he's an acquired Englishman. He also visited many other countries, but nothing beats a good Italian meal, wine, and the sea, and/or scenic mountains. I couldn't agree more, by the way. He also very much enjoys visiting part of his family, which are in Hungary and in Brazil. Claudia Miguel is the director of Visit Portugal for the United Kingdom since January 2020. She's been part of the team in London since 2018 and in head office in Lisbon since 2010. Proudly Portuguese and passionate about promoting Portugal tourism, she's also a tourist herself in her spare time, either visiting museums, strolling around different sites in London, or visiting other cultures and countries. Going back home in her area, which is the Cascais area, is also something that she does very, very frequently, enjoying the company of her family, her friends, and her dog. Siobhan Byrne-Learat is the president of Adams and Butler, who offers privileged access to private places coupled with unusual service and accommodation in luxury for vacations, family celebrations, wedding, honeymoons, and incentives. Although she's particularly knowledgeable about Ireland, Britain, and Europe, Siobhan has recently set up a worldwide private travel label for our discerning globe-trotting clients. They were also recently voted Best Travel Advisor Professionals at the Irish Travel Trade Award 2020. So congratulations, Siobhan and her team. And last but by no means least, my friend Matej Knific, who is the co-founder and co-owner of Luxury Slovenia DMC. And I guess the other co-owner is also in the audience. So hello, Matej, as well. Matej is a travel professional, an expert in sales and marketing for luxury travel, with extensive experience in international business, passionate about promotion of Slovenia and all of its beauties. For Matej, the challenge is to push the boundaries and make the impossible possible. And believe me, he does that. I am a testimony of it. He is enjoying passing on knowledge and his know-how to students and consulting to other players in the field of tourism. A mantra that he follows in life is start going the extra mile and opportunities will follow. I definitely like that, Matej. So during this discussion, Flavio, Claudia, Siobhan and Matej will discuss the new world of luxury travel in Europe, deep diving into the future of luxury travel in this country, post-lockdown. We hope that you will find the session insightful and you will gain new insights and perspective for your business. So my friends, thank you again for joining us on this panel. Now, before we start, I'd like to let you know how it works, but I guess in this lockdown world and COVID world, we all know very well how Zoom now works. But just in case you do not know, for the next 45 minutes, I will ask the panelists a series of questions at the end of which you'll also have your chance to ask your questions, but don't be put back by that. Please ask any questions anyway using the chat button, which appears at the bottom end of your screen. I'd ask everyone to switch their cameras on, as it helps and promotes interaction and it makes it more fun. You may have also during questions as well the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask questions yourself. If you do choose to use the chat button, you can share the question with everyone attending this meeting or with just myself. The panelists might not actually keep an eye on the chat, but I will look out for it. But I've also got the Connections team here with us. So there is Sam, if we can spotlight quickly, Sam. Gemma, putting you on the spot to spotlight, there he is. So Sam, and we've got also Gemma. Can you spotlight yourself, Gemma? I don't think you can. Wave. Maybe Sam, you can try and spotlight. There she is. So there's Gemma Fitchett, and then Alex Roca. There he is. So they're all on hand. If you want to direct them any questions, even privately during this, you could do that at any time, and we're in constant contact together during the session. So as I said, this session will last around 45 minutes to an hour and is being recorded. So if you have any colleagues or friends who might be interested in this, you can always forward this on to them. Finally, please be respectful of one another. We encourage you to have a positive and supporting spirit in these challenging times. Between us all, we have a breadth of knowledge, insights and advice that can be shared and can help guide us through these uncertain times. So let's use each other for the good of our industry. So thank you very much, everyone. So let's begin now. Flavio, hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself? Good?
Very good, very good. Very excited to having this panel debate. So with Italy being one of the first European countries to open its borders, and I believe that has happened on June the 3rd, how is the country faring? Will Italians be able to save the summer?
Thanks, Micaela. Good afternoon, by the way, everyone, and thanks for joining us. And yeah, you're right. Italy reopened its borders on the 3rd of June to the EU countries, as well as Schengen and the United Kingdom. So arrivals from other countries, they still need to quarantine for 14 days from their arrival. So actually, since last week, unfortunately, Romania and Bulgaria had been removed from this safe list, and so they have to quarantine as well arrivals from Romania and Bulgaria. So since the 3rd of June, when we opened the border, also hotels started to reopen slowly, of course, not all together. So, but at this point, so we are end of July, they are mostly open now, all accommodation in Italy, especially around the beach areas, the sea coast, the seaside, and then on the mountains. So actually they are going quite well. I mean, they're almost all fully booked, these hotels. I mean, it's due to not, of course, unfortunately, to the foreign visitors, but for the Italians who decided not to travel, so they will spend their holidays, summer holidays in Italy. So let's say the lack of foreigners is balanced by the domestic travel, so the staycation. So Italians are really spending the holidays in Italy. So beach holidays and mountain holidays are not going so bad. Actually, there are quite good numbers, fully booked. And where we are struggling a little bit, it's a bit too much maybe, is the city breaks. So cities like Florence or Venice or even Rome are still empty. So to be fair, July and August has always been the low season for city breaks and never been. So we are hoping that after summer visitors will increase again. This could be also seen as an opportunity, I believe, because for instance, last week I was in Rome, and it's unique to see the city that normally is crowded. I mean, for instance, I went to see the Trevi fountains one evening, that normally you hardly get into the square, and you have the whole square and the fountain for yourself. So it could be, it's on one hand it's sad, of course, but on the other hand it could be a unique opportunity to see these cities in another light, basically. So and yeah, so that was really beautiful in one sense, of course. I mean, taking the positive sides of everything, really. In order to get most out of summer, what our message now is that our summer is extended. So they are following the regions and hotels and all the facilities. So you can come to Italy until October now. So as summer is starting late for obvious reasons, and you can still enjoy summer in Italy until the end of October. I would say in some places like Sicily, if you're lucky, even November, you can even go to the sea in that time. So what we are trying to, as message send across now with hotels, to extend their season from normally was the end of September to extend it at least for a month. So spending the Indian summer becomes an Italian summer. We are trying to pass this message now. So that's why we are trying to save the summer. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for giving us this. I'm going to turn to the audience and to the delegates of this webinar, and I'm going to ask, can you put on the chat, guys, if you have actually traveled recently in the past, say, month, taken a plane, traveled somewhere, gone somewhere? Can you put that on the chat? So Paola, Shannon, I know Paola because we were talking on the phone the other day, and she was actually all over Italy, going from city to city. Maria Baltazzi, I have not, okay, not yet. Carla Andreso, Peter Foster said no, sadly not yet. Mary, oh hi Mary, traveling next week to Amsterdam and Copenhagen, okay, that's interesting. So we have a bit of a mixture. I mean, my team, you guys have traveled as well, so feel free to just fill in as well. Ireland to Italy, exactly. From Romagna to Abruzzo, Amalfi Coast, Puglia, Saturday in Rome. Paola, you're making Italy proud. Fantastic. Antea, yes. Antea says, yes. Been to Los Cabos from Dallas. Brilliant. Okay. Mark, hello, Mark. Drove 1,200 kilometers across Spain. Gosh, yes. Melissa, I've been traveling, but only by car through the west coast of Portugal. Andrea says, went to Düsseldorf, Germany, to Crete, and seen that safe distances are not followed. Yeah, and that's another big issue I think we are seeing across. And one more question to the audience, actually. Who's planning to have a summer break? Or have you had an actual holiday, a vacation a summer break? If you had it or you're planning to have it this summer. Really interested in that. Sorry, I'm going a little bit off script, but I thought it was really important to get a feel of what everyone is actually doing. No one's going on holiday? Alex says, I'm going to Switzerland in August, hopefully. Okay. I think you're taking the plane, aren't you, Alex? You're there by plane. Okay. Hossam, yes, as soon as they open Europe. Okay. Mary, no holidays planned. Sam, I hope a short break, fingers crossed. Maria, I'm planning my break as soon as Botswana opens. Yasmin, not thinking about travel for the next few months. Siobhan, August will be doing site visits in Scotland and in Africa in September. So it's really a mixed bag here. Melissa, no more planned, only road trip. Paola, ours a little bit of a holiday, reconnecting to people. Canada, when it's open. Carla, 2 weeks from August by car. I guess car and like independent travel. I mean, car is one way also, but also, you know, private jets and seeing those being used quite a lot by people that can afford, of course, the trip. Libero says, not yet, but planning southern Italy at the end of September, beginning of October, hopefully. Okay. So thank you very much. And so going back to what Flavio was saying, that, you know, there's a lot of domestic tourism. I'm actually going to visit my mum in August and haven't seen her for the last 8 months. And speaking to Flavio and his team recently, and they're saying, get booking early because you might not find any place where to stay in the mountains or at the seaside. So from that perspective, it's really good to see that they've managed to save the... Okay, well, let's go on to... Thank you very much, everyone. Let's go on to Claudia. Hello, Claudia.
Hi, hello, everyone.
How are you? You well?
Good, thank you.
So what about the current situation across Portugal and its islands?
So if you allow me, Micaela, I will just also add that I have traveled. I have been to Portugal in June. And I still have the possibility to do 2 short trips in Europe. One of them, again, going to Portugal, but everything on the question mark. So liaising this with, linking this with your question, how is the situation in Portugal? So we open our borders on the 15th of June. Actually, I arrived on the 14th of June from the UK, as the flights from the UK never stopped, because we do have a huge community living here. So there were flights that were still considered to take the residents, etc. So we are very glad that still was a possibility. The current situation is, well, I'm sure that you know, because it has been all over the press, that Portugal from the UK is not yet considered in the air bridges, although the islands, Madeira and the Azores, are off the FCO non-essential travel. So anybody that wants to go to Madeira or to the Azores, they will be able to do it, and to have an insurance, to have their anything that happens there, they will also be covered for their insurance company. But on the way back to the UK, they will have to do a quarantine. In terms of Madeira and the Azores, the situation is actually very good. It always has been. Madeira, for example, has no deaths whatsoever. And let's say once per week there is a case, such as today. It is the first case of the week. So what Madeira has been imposing since the beginning, it's very strict measures. Actually, in the beginning, we all considered too high and too in a highest, sometimes we criticize it, but now we have to say that it was all very good. And they really kept the island with a low infection rate, and turning also a secure place. What we are also so the Azores is the same thing. So now, since the 1st of July, everybody that enters Azores or Madeira, they have to do a test upon arrival. This is still at the airport. Everybody's being tested, mandatory. And they will it is asked until they find out the result, which is very fast nowadays, that they keep as more isolated as possible. And then, of course, if something happens, imagine that the person who is being tested gets infected, and that person and the whole family are placed in a very good hotel and are in isolation for 14 days, and all the costs are paid by the island. In Portugal mainland, we have assisted a few cases around Lisbon area, but it's not in the touristic area, it's in the suburbs. But this has been affected, of course, the infection rate of the whole country, because the rate is still a bit higher for what we desired. And this has been as the UK hasn't been doing regional differentiation between the regions, so we have been affected by all this. So what I can say is that now we are seeing the infection rate coming lower and lower. It's not being fast, but it's being steady. And so from 1 week to the other week, to this week, actually to yesterday, because I started monitoring every day, we've decreased 15 points in the accumulated cases per 100,000. And this has been, of course, a challenge for us, but it has been smooth and steady, but not fast, indeed. Regarding the situation for the hotels, etc., the hotels are not completely with the 100% beds open. So we consider that everybody is in a soft opening, because probably they are around 60% to avoid the rooms, just each room next to each other to be used. So they are, for example, every 3 rooms, 1 is open, to avoid even this contact of the people in nearby rooms. Since the beginning in Portugal, we assisted to a lot of measures. When I was there in June, everybody was using a mask. The beaches and the coastal areas are identified in Cascais and in the Algarve. The beaches are also marked. People are asked to use masks, for example, when they leave or when they are in the beachside area, in the bars or in the support spaces. What I have seen is that many companies and many bars, restaurants, they all adapted. And I have to say that I take my hat off to all these businesses that were completely dry for 3 months in terms of revenue, and they had to adapt and readapt and reconsider everything to be able to have all the measures in place. So this is the distancing between the tables. People cannot get in at the same time. They have to be waited to be seated, cleaned. But it's really impressive to see how much the businesses, especially the small businesses, adapt to this new reality, and in order also to give confidence to the people. Of course, the internal tourism is a target for all of us. And luckily, the Portuguese do have a lot of internal tourism, especially in August and July. Around 40% is internal tourism. And so, of course, our efforts are also on that. So we from other countries, Germany, Spain, France, we are receiving good numbers, and even from the UK, unless these packages travel, that of course are with insurance policies attached, are being a little bit slower. But we can say that even so, the British are looking for Portugal, and we are receiving loads of phone calls here at the embassy of people that want to do insurances upon arrival to the country, because they don't want to not to go. And so basically, I think things are not bright, but they are not a catastrophe. And I'm glad to see for myself that many things are in practice, and all the businesses are complying.
So there's a road to recovery.
Yes.
Well, that's the most important thing. Of course, we need to keep hope high and keep all these measures in place in order not to get it. A question from Samar is, how can you share some information on the number of people allowed at social gatherings in Portugal? And actually, she's addressed this to everyone, and Siobhan has already answered for Ireland. Is 50 people indoors and 200 people outdoors. Is there a fixed number for Portugal?
Yes, so far it's 20 people.
Okay, 20 people indoors.
Yes, so for example, a gathering, even outside, it's 20 people. If you want to have in a terrace a ceremony or a party, it is maximum is 20. It's 20 people still. We believe that around September things will change, but it's still not confirmed how many it will be allowed. Probably 100, but it depends on the situation, how it will go. It's too soon to tell.
Of course. No, thank you. Flavio, do you know how many people
There is actually no limit anymore. I mean, of course, you have to respect all the social distances. So there is no limit as per se, but if a venue was used to have a 400 capacity, it's reduced to a quarter, so 100. So even clubs or cinemas are open, or festivals are going on, but of course it's reduced capacity. But there is no more limit. Depends on the venue, basically. You have to generally a quarter of it used to be. So, but there is no more limit.
So we know from Siobhan and Matej, I know I'm going to get to you very, very soon, but do you know in Slovenia if there is any restricted capacity for people indoor, groups of people indoors and outdoors?
Hello from Slovenia. Yes, in fact, I know it. No matter indoors or outdoors, we have a limit of 10 people in the group with no restrictions. By some special restrictions, we can gather up to 50 people, but you need to collect all the names and contacts of the person that are on that event, party, whatever. So in case of any situation which we don't like, we can contact anyone. So 10 without limitations and without restrictions, and 50 with special restrictions.
Thank you. I'm sure you will agree with me, it's a maze of numbers. There is no consistency across any country. Everyone's different. And Andrea, thank you very much for contributing. She's put in the chat that for special occasions, up to 150 people indoors in Germany. And culture and other events with more detailed hygienic concept up to 300. So it is very varied. Thank you guys for giving us this overview. I guess this situation is again so fluid and will change so quickly. Claudia, thank you for giving us this overview. We are looking forward to actually being in Madeira next year to have our first face-to-face global event in June next year. We're raring with anticipation, so good to know that Madeira is really having these strict measures, and they're containing their numbers as much as possible. You said just one case so far, so I'm really looking forward to our new face-to-face events.
Yes, we are.
Exactly. Right, so 2 weeks ago, during our Connections Virtual Week, we were virtually transported to Slovenia, where we were surrounded by green, showed various local produce. There was a lady that was cutting the fish in front of us in type sushi type of thing. I remember actually when I went to Slovenia, I remember actually sampling it. It was delicious. They were showing us which types of oil they had, but all seemed very normal. So Matej, talking about Slovenia, a country bordering Hungary, Austria, Croatia, just a few hours from Venice in Italy, what is the situation?
Well, situation here is, let's say, new normal. We are trying to live new normal for last few months. learning it day by day and trying to adapt to it. Just maybe for a short intro, Slovenia has cancelled pandemic in mid-May. We were first EU country to do so because we were pretty much lucky with the numbers. We opened borders pretty much sooner than the rest of the Europe. So nowadays we are used with daily changes and uncertainty. And I believe this is a new normal for all of us. We need to behave safe. We try to behave safe. And that is Slovenia right now, actually. You got quite a good impression about that. It's important for all of us that we don't forget that there is no virus. It's still here, but trying to live as much as normal as we can. You mentioned about Slovenia being green with the local produce, green supply chain, sustainable cuisine. That's all true, actually.
Oh, have we lost you? I think we've temporarily lost Matej. That's okay. I'm sure he will reconnect very soon. I was in Slovenia, and it is definitely green. And I think the new trend we all seen being towards open spaces and being in the middle of the open air. So I think Slovenia is definitely the place to experience that. Siobhan, hi. How are you?
Just unmuting myself. I'm good, and I'm craving those face-to-face events.
That's right, absolutely. Yes, me too, I replied, and I do. But we will get there very soon. I am absolutely confident of that. We will all pull through this period and actually be able to meet together. I mean, it's encouraging to hear from all parts of Europe, you know, they are slowly introducing new groups. And so we have to be hopeful that that will happen very soon. So what is the current situation in Ireland? And I know it's a given, it's a true year-round destination. So has actually COVID changed this?
Well, it has. Well, first of all, we had a 14-day self-isolation in place, and I was having great difficulty because everywhere that it was written down that it was quarantine and not self-isolation. And the nuances matter at this stage. Also, it's not mandatory in Ireland, it's requested. And then we also have the person locator form that has to be filled in that is also required in the UK. So we do have tourists coming in, but not many. But we do have, like, we've had clients that come here and they're aware of the fact they have to self-isolate when they come. So they might decide to stay in a hotel or in a rental property. But there isn't a big volume of people coming into the country at the moment. The city is suffering, Dublin City. A lot of Irish people, like Ireland is a little bit different to a lot of other countries in that the topography in the country changes every 30 minutes. So you go from wonderful sort of bucolic, you know, green pastures to, you know, rocky seashores to hilly garden areas. So a lot of Irish people enjoy taking holidays in Ireland, but the majority of people are going from the cities to the countryside. Very few people are coming into Dublin City. So the Dublin hotels are at about 30% occupancy. Ireland, from a point of view of an all-round-year destination, is we are more temperate than the rest of the UK. So we're never as cold or we're never as hot. Any given day in July could be the same weather as any given day in December. But the thing that I always say to people is, if you're coming into Ireland, and I use the example of the Marion Hotel, an entry-level room high season is €500. That's rack rate. Off season is 250. You don't come to Ireland for the weather. So it's better value to come off season. So we were hoping that our bookings would pick up for the shoulder period, because Ireland has done very well in the sense of we went into lockdown before other countries in Europe like that weren't savaged immediately by the virus. So we've done well, people have behaved. It's quite funny because there's certain restrictions in place, like the 50 people indoors, etc. But we're actually being sensical is a word I like to use about it, which doesn't exist, in a sense of usually people won't have more than 10 people in their home. So, you know, we're sort of applying our rules in a way that we feel makes sense. So I thought there would be an intake in business for September, October. We were getting inquiries in for September. They didn't materialize, or they've pushed them out. But I'm hoping October, November, December will pick up, because there's lots of things on. Like we have, you know, the horse races are on in December, and it's a nice time to visit. There's a good atmosphere. It's still a fun country, you know, even post-COVID. So, you know, we are positive that things will take up, but it is slow. The inquiries are trickling in. The majority, 90% of the inquiries we're getting are for rental properties. So we're talking about castle takeovers, house takeovers, and we're getting a lot of Americans that we feel for the first time are very frightened. Like I had one agent who rang me one day after a webinar, and she said, my country is broken. And she was an advisor who had been positive all during COVID, and she just felt she came to her breaking point. So I think we're going to get a lot of sort of frustrated demand for vacations, hopefully coming in the latter part of, you know, August, September, October, those inquiries, and people will travel out of season.
So very much like Flavio was saying, a late summer, like a prolonged summer.
Yeah, it's sort of like extending the season, but we do have an Indian summer in September usually, but I think people will come for the winter period. It's going to be a new norm for people to come to Ireland, I think, you know, in the shoulder period and the winter period, because they realize it's an all year round destination.
So Enu is asking for Americans, do they really have to quarantine for 14 days?
Okay, this is the thing. If you were to talk to the tourist board, they would say yes, but we have gone into this ad nauseum, and it's requested and strongly advised. But it's not mandatory, but filling in the form is mandatory, and you will be rung up, and they will ring you to see, you know, if you're following the guidelines of making sure your whereabouts are known, and it's from the traceable point of view. So it's a gray area, because in theory they should self-isolate, but it's not mandatory.
I guess we're seeing it everywhere in all of our countries, the UK included, of messages that are so grey, like they're not black or white, and it's left very much to people's discretions to try and plough through this period, which is not ideal.
That's the most unfair thing I think that is happening. That if someone said, like, as I always say, like, because I've sort of lobbied to different bodies in Ireland, and I'm saying, if you give us a date, we all understand if that goalpost has to be changed, but at least give us a date. So I think at the moment our 14 days self-isolation is until the 10th of August.
So do you have to have the 14 days of 14 days hotel reservation? Even if you
see, you don't. That's the other thing. People were coming into the hotels, and I was ringing the hotels, and they were saying no. Some people were staying for a week or 14 days. Others were just booking 1 or 2 nights. We have a list of green countries, which for people coming from Malta, Finland, Norway, Italy, Hungary, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So our list is much shorter than the UK list. And the irony is that I think there's no direct flights to most of those countries. So in practice, you're going to have to do transit or stopover in a country. So therefore, in effect, you're going to have to do 14-day isolation. So we were laughing about the list when it came out. Yeah.
Matej, you're back. We've lost you for a moment. And do you remember where you were? You were talking about Slovenia and the fact that it's green, and then we've kind of lost you. I want to go back to you. I haven't forgotten you, but I think that we love technology, don't we, guys? We do. I do love technology, because actually has managed to bring us all together. We have people from all over the world, Mexico and all sorts of parts of the world. So I do love technology, but I don't actually like it when things like that happen. So you're back.
Thank you, Micaela. Yes, I don't like it as well when something like that happened, but what can we do? I think this is a new normal as well. We'll get used to it. And usually we can do as many tests and rehearsals and whenever it happens when it's the worst situation. Exactly. So keep on nodding that I know that I'm still alive, you know.
Okay, I will.
I just wanted to add actually about Slovenia being green. More than 60% of our country is covered by woods. That allows us and gives us a lot of opportunity for practicing social distancing. We do most of the things outdoors, and being green and small is now an advantage. Maybe I would also like to answer on your question about traveling, if we have traveled so far. Yes, we did. We've been on a short break, so on a long weekend in Venice. We've been to Trieste. I've just came 2 hours ago from Croatia for a short vacation. We started to travel so far by car. We are planning to do holidays in second half of August in Italy and in France, which is relatively close to us. I think it's on us travel professionals and on media that we start traveling and showcase to our potential clients or to our guests, how is it in real, you know, otherwise they will be scared. That's my opinion. So we need to go, we need to be brave, we need to support each other. Yes, we have to behave very safe, but still we cannot be all the time for the next few years at home.
Yeah. No, we need to set an example, of course, in the realms of being safe, of course, but yes, we need to set examples. Flavio, just going back quickly to you. So we know there have been certain regions in Italy that have been really hit hard, and actually Piemonte, where I come from, was on the top 3 or 4. But I'm actually wanting to ask you a different question. But which regions in Italy are improving quickly? Are there any success stories? You've already mentioned the cities that are suffering and the mountains and seaside are doing well, but are there any particular regions that you would say actually these guys in this region are shining? Which destinations do you also envision?
Not particularly, they're all doing, I mean, a big job to get back to normality. As you mentioned, some regions, the worst hits on the northern Italy, Lombardy, Piemonte, Veneto, Emilia-Romagna as well. So they're doing a good job considering that they were really hit hard. I mean, more than half of the case of Italy were concentrated in 3 regions, really. So especially if you go now to the Adriatic Riviera, to the Rimini area, it's really, it's like every other year. It's full of people, everything is open. Of course, with the precautions, with the mask, you have to wear the mask, the social distancing and everything. Where everything is open, even clubs, outdoor clubs and everything. So it's kind of back to normal there. I mean, of course, you see people with masks, that's not really normal, but it makes you feel safe. Whereas southern Italy was less hit. In fact, now we have most of the regions in the southern Italy are COVID-free declared already. So,
okay.
Yeah, so there are a few regions that are COVID-free, and so they are enjoying more Italian tourists than usual. So the southern Italy. So I wouldn't say that there is a particular success story, but I must have really uploaded the northern regions to get back to as fast as I could to normality, really, and considering everything, taking everything in considerations. As you said, city breaks are the ones that are struggling more now. It's true that July, August, hardly any people, especially Europeans, wouldn't go to see because it's too hot and everything, they would rather. But now with the lack of the extra Europeans, especially Americans or Asians that used to do the city breaks in summer, there is no Americans now, no Asians, so they are really suffering the city. So as I told you, Venice, so Matej has been to Venice, probably saw it completely empty, as well as Rome and the other big cities. So that's hopefully in autumn, if fingers crossed, everything will be back to normal. We started to receive back the Europeans as well, I mean, into the cities.
Okay. That's good. It's good to know. Thank you, Flavio. Claudia, from the moment visitors arrive to the moment they leave, what are the health measures? I know you touched upon it a little bit at the beginning, saying you're really, really on it in terms of measuring temperatures and things like that. But are the airports COVID-free? Do they check the temperature as soon as people come? And I know you guys have issued a health certificate that put in place measures that are really to look up to. So well done for that. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yes, so in terms of airports, what we have implemented is all the airports, this mainland, of course, Madeira and the Azores, I've touched the point already, but in the mainland and also, of course, in Madeira and the Azores, there is a temperature check. It's not something that you are stopped and check temperature. No, it's the screening that it is identified when you arrive. So on the floor, it is marked, and you have people on the side ready to reach out if any person is considered as suspicious due to temperature. There are loads of protocols in place, I'm sure also in other countries, but we had even webinars with our, well, it is similar to Public Health England. In Portugal, we call it DGS, Direção Geral de Saúde. So for example, imagine that there is a person that is reported by an airline that is suspicious. So I don't know if you notice, but when you start flying, you will notice that there are some rows of the plane that are blocked. Nobody can be seated there. You will see that when you choose your seat. So those lines are to be used in case of anybody is reported as suspicious by anybody of the crew. And in case of arriving to Portugal, in the case there is a suspicious case like that, it is reported immediately to the health authorities. This person will be get out of the plane in the last, so they will let everybody leave first. And then people from INEM, which is our emergency staff, let's say, they will pick this person and will be carried to a hospital, and exams and tests will be done. So this of course, everything is arranged with the airport, with the airlines, etc. So there is kind of a path and to several let's say layers of happenings that might happen. I'm sure that every country has this in place. So when we arrive to the airport, so everything is marked on the floor. Even when we are waiting for the luggage, there are the marks. So, you know, people just jump into each other when getting out the luggage normally. So everything now is marked on the floor, so people will not jump into each other. What I saw was people really respecting that. Also, what I felt as a user and as a consumer, either in Heathrow and either is Lisbon, is the levels of hygiene are really, really high. So I think we all earn with that, because things are being kept clean. The toilets are super clean. Things are disinfected, and I think ourselves, we are more conscious of the other people. In my flight, also, the flight was pretty full, but everything went pretty normal. Regarding the clean and safe stamp that the Portuguese authority launched, so this started to be launched to accommodation and small businesses like restaurants, and even the business like, you know, tuk-tuks and all these small businesses, activities related. Then it was extended to golf, to event venues, to the airport itself, so to the rent-a-cars. For example, when I arrived to pick up the rent-a-car, it was already with the clean and safe stamp. And just for you, for example, as I don't know if you know that what I found in picking up the car, so it is a glass like we see now in the shops. It is not a complete contact. They give you the car keys, and you don't find anybody else inspecting how the car is, if there are scratches, and telling you, doing some kind of a round with the car, giving you the keys, etc. That does not happen anymore. So it's just you that get the keys of the car, you take photos of the car yourself, and then when you bring the car back, then you have somebody, of course, completely equipped, keeping the distance with you, and you have just to co-sign, and you, if there are scratches, etc., you will show how you have seen the car previously. So this is all something new. But I think things are actually running smoothly also on that. The hotels, so there are two or actually three kind of measures in place. One of them is our Public Health England. They have launched a series of obligations that the hotels, for example, have to fulfill. And other is the clean and safe stamp with the criteria that Turismo Portugal has launched. And we launch also a platform where you as a user, you can see if the hotel that you're going is within the clean and safe stamp. So we had more than, I think already 8,000 establishments or even more. And Turismo Portugal is also training the staff of the hotels and all the activities to how to use the platform, etc. But also yourself as a user, you can go to the platform and do mystery shopping and see, yes, so you can say, look, this hotel that should fulfill this and this criteria is not following. And with that complaint, it launches immediately an inspection with our public health authorities and Turismo Portugal. So this is also...
That must have been a huge, massive operation.
Yes. So this of course needs that everybody is involved. So you see, I think we did that well, was that all the entities, there were no breaks in talking to each other. Everybody was seated at the same virtual space and putting their heads into it. But of course, the hotels, if they don't comply, they will be publicly felt that. So this also gives a lot of responsibility to the businesses.
Of course, this is also a way of reviewing the hotel. It's a way of clients going on, and I hope that will be kept up even when things get better, because that's a great way of knowing how
how things, we always had in Portugal, I don't know if there are in other countries, I also lived in Switzerland, and when I lived there 12 years ago, I haven't seen such a thing, which is an authority called ASAI, and these companies do random checks in establishments. For example, they enter in a restaurant any hour of the day without being announced, and they go to the kitchen. And they see if all the hygiene things and standards are being... So we have been doing that since more than 12 years. And for example, imagine there is a concert going on. They go into the space, they check if the concert has all the things in place in terms of security, if they have billed the customers and as they should. So since ever we had that in Portugal. For example, there is exactly from Gemma, the Portugal Clean and Safe platform. Thank you. For example, you don't see anybody in Portugal giving you bread or a toast with their hand and collecting money with the same hand without a glove. This since ever. It's forbidden. Okay, so with now this in practice, of course, it's a much increase of the hygiene standards, but with the Portugal Clean and Safe, and to any entity that is there registered, you can really do the claim, and this will generate the inspection itself. Also, so these measures are in full in all the places, and like I said, it was very good to see in the beginning how these companies, that some of them are not within the same umbrella of the Ministry of Economy like tourism is, but transports and other things, they really reach out to tourism and said, we want to build the clean and safe criteria also adapted to our venues, to the golf, to the rental cars, etc., because we need all together to give trust to the people who visit us and who use our services. So this was really one of the good things that happened, that really people really
embraced it.
Yes, exactly. And there were no barriers between things really flowed, and I think that was one of the really positive sides.
Really commendable, Claudia. And Portugal was one of the first. I remember when the announcement went out a few months ago, many months ago actually. So it is really to look up to. Giving a lot of a say to the customers also has to be done with cautiousness, because obviously if anyone could go on there and say, oh, they're not complying because maybe the owner of the place is not very appealing to them. But it's a practice that should be promoted, to be kept up. Siobhan, you've also got some safety. You've shared the Fáilte Ireland COVID-19 safety charter.
So Fáilte Ireland is sort of the tourist board that's responsible for the product in Ireland, and they've put together training. So it's made really for people in the frontline service industry, so restaurants, hotels, etc. But ironically, they offered the training to everyone free of charge. So we got everyone, like the 10 people in our team, to do it. So I think we're one of the few DMCs that have it. But the thing is, it's just an awareness. Like I've stayed in hotels in Ireland for the last few weeks, just checking them out, and it's amazing because I was in Glenlow Abbey in Galway, and I wasn't even aware there was a screen between myself and the receptionist because it was so subtle. And then, it's just people are trying to make sure that it's not obvious that you still enjoy the fact you're staying in a lovely property. So, there is markings on the floor so that people tend to go the one route, and the tables are moved a little bit further away. But it's so subtle, it's not intrusive on the experience. But everyone, like all the hotels in Ireland, have subscribed to the safety charter. So it's doing quite well.
I guess it's a process. Everyone is starting to do that, and to rebuild the trust and the confidence, which is what I want to actually touch upon now. And I guess whatever you guys have said so far, all of this goes towards rebuilding trust and confidence for our for the end users. But I mean, I was going to ask you, Siobhan, when do you anticipate full recovery, and especially from an international point of view? And I know it's so hard to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'm refusing to be negative, because I think once your spirit is broken, it's so hard to get it back. Like we've been doing a series of webinars, like we're a preferred partner yourselves, etc. Like there's so much positive things happening in the industry. So I think the synergy of all of us should endorse those and multiply those positive effects. Like even when I'm doing, say, webinar or something, I refuse to mention the word COVID. I might say, the present challenges or something, because we're all aware it's there. We don't need it drummed in. And a lot of the guidelines that are put in place with these clean and safety and, these safety charts, etc. They're, as I said again, they're commonsensical. They're things we should be doing anyway, or be more aware of in the future as well. And I hope a lot of these best practices are not forgotten, and they're brought forward with us. So from a point of view of business coming into, say, Ireland and the UK, at the moment we're getting a lot of inquiries in for Ireland and Scotland. I remember research that was done said people will go more off the beaten track. So I think that Ireland and Scotland will benefit from that from a UK point of view. We had chosen 4 destinations, and one of them was Portugal, and I see Villa Vita is on the talk with us. But we put together a lovely newsletter, Villa Vita, the Conrad, with the Catarina, etc. And then all of a sudden, Portugal wasn't on our green list, so we're holding that off. So we will be, we're focusing on Malta. Seville was another one we wanted to, up the ante for. Again, it wasn't on the Irish green list. And then they put Greenland on, so we thought, okay, let's put together a lovely program on Greenland. It was impossible almost, we had fantastic things to do, but to get there from Ireland, because all of the, the network of flights, they're all down. There's hardly any flights between Ireland and Scandinavia. And we used to have them on an almost hourly basis. So it's quite challenging. But we're still getting a lot of inquiries in for longer haul destinations, again, Africa, because people think it's going to be off the beaten track. There'll be small, lesser amount of people staying in the properties. So we figure from an inbound point of view, we will get more inquiries confirming from September, because there are more inquiries coming in. And from an outbound point of view, It is dependent on the green list to a smaller extent, but I think the outbound bookings will start happening in October for the further field and September for short breaks. And I think people will travel in November, December. I really feel this November will be probably the best November we've ever had from a bookings point of view. So I am confident and I refuse to be broken.
Yes, of course. And I love that. And I did you guys realize the time? It's already 4 o'clock. And I promised it was going to be 45 minutes plus questions. And I haven't actually given anyone the chance to ask for questions. So see what happens when you're having fun, right? Time flies. So I'm going to... Ennio is saying, Siobhan, I love the positive attitude. I really do. And I think that's what will make the world go round. So please, everyone, either unmute yourselves and ask questions or ask them through the chat. And I'm very happy to answer. I won't be offended if anyone needs to leave, because I promised this session to be 45 minutes to an hour and we're already over time. So if you need to go, please do. But for everyone else that wants to stay and ask questions, I have run out of time. I had so many more questions to ask, but obviously I won't. So please ask. So Carla is saying, I'm also avoiding to say the word COVID-19, and it helps. We do not ignore it, but helps to move on. Yes, actually, I will adopt that. So if there is one learning, or one of the learnings from this session will be actually to stop mentioning the actual word, because that's not right. So I'm gonna just ask you guys if anyone has got any questions to just shoot on the chat. I'm going to give you a second or two. No?
There's another thing as well, is that I feel that the industry shouldn't lower their prices. You know, I really hope that we won't discount, but we will add, you know, added value, maybe 5 nights for the price of 4 or whatever, you know, something that stands true with a luxury brand. So I just hate to see us going back to discounting in the next year. And I think the whole industry should, you know, stand firm on that, offer value, but do not discount.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more with you, Siobhan. Competition on price will be even less sustainable. We need to look for added value for our guests, for quality, for flexibility, for trust. And yes, I couldn't agree more with you as a DMC.
Mm.
Yeah, because that will potentially be destroying our industry moving forward. Price wars, and that's the last thing you want to know. Melissa is asking, totally agree, Siobhan. Price is not the problem right now. Trust and inspiration is the key. So she's not asking a question, but she's actually agreeing with Siobhan. Andrea saying, does anyone know if worldwide the airports are working out the same concept? I think this would help. I guess it's going back to COVID-free airports. I know for a fact that no, that worldwide the airports don't have a common approach. There are some COVID-free airports, and there are many. Actually, Mark is on the call if he's still there, and he hasn't left. Mark Mackey, is he still here? No, he must have. Oh, no. Anyway, he was actually telling me that there was I mean, there's so many news happening from all over the world and you miss most of them, but actually a plane was coming from Dubai into an Asian country carrying 24 people that tested COVID positive in this Asian country when they landed, and I can't remember exactly. That's why I was asking for him, because he was the one who was telling me. And the reason being is that Dubai are very strict in checking, and so was the Asian airport in checking temperatures and making sure everyone was without temperature. But that plane originated from another country which didn't. So I guess airport regulation will stem from governments, and if governments don't have a united approach, then you would not have airports with a united approach. So that's unfortunately, and yes, I agree with you, Andrea, this would help massively to have a united approach as to this is what airports need to comply with. But unfortunately, not everyone has the same budgets and regulations. Anyway, but thank you very, very much. Really, really enjoyed this. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Flavio, Siobhan, and Matej for your invaluable knowledge, time, and views, and for giving us all so much insight. Personally, it was really interesting, and I'm sure many people would have found the same. Thank you also everyone for being here, for listening and contributing. We have an amazing lineup for the next few weeks. August 13 at 6 p.m. We have our monthly social, so don't miss that. On the 27th of August at 2 p.m. BST, we have ConnecTALKS Africa, and Siobhan will come back again after people asking to know and have an update of what's happening in Africa. We had part 1 now over a month ago, I think. And so we're following our first edition. Our panel will come back to give us a further update. And September the 17th, we have a really exciting session on technology with expert Ewan McLeod, who is the founder of Mobile Industry Review and is also a consultant to Connections from a technology perspective. So he will be taking us through the technology revolution and walk us through what's going to happen in his view, what we're experiencing and what we will continue to experience. So in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the Connections online community. And thank you very much everyone for being here, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.